Hey, y'all. Yesterday, right here in New Orleans, Kendrick Lamar was big stepping at the Super Bowl halftime show.
The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy.
And you won't be surprised. You won't be surprised at this. The conservatives, the MAGA world, they just want to take our joy away. There used to be this complaint back in the day from the MAGA right that I was actually kind of sympathetic to, which was that ESPN and sort of things from the cultural left were injecting too much politics into sports, and that we should, people should be able to watch the games. Obviously, certain times political moments overtake sports. There are certain appropriate opportunities to weigh in on politics during sports, but like it was getting a little overkill. There's too much, and the people like Clay Travis, these kind of right wing, used to be kind of phony, really, but like pretend MAGA sports commentators who just talk about this stuff for the clicks. That was their initial take, right? Was that like let's dial it back a little bit. Let's let sports be sports. Well, that started to happen, and now we have totally come all the way around the bend to the point where it's the MAGA right that is obsessed with putting politics into everything, injecting politics into sports to such a degree that we can't just sit and enjoy what is happening on the field without having to get lectured about what is woke and what is too woke and what is too DEI and what is blah, blah, blah. And why don't we just have God-fearing Americans anymore? And this was particularly stark in their response to the Kendrick Lamar performance, which was too DEI for them, too many black people. So I want to read you through some of the worst hits of the MAGA folks' response to Kendrick's halftime show. Actually, before I do that, just want to give you my take. I love Kendrick. I thought the halftime show was like a B. And by the way, there are things in life that are allowed to be Bs. Not everything has to be the baddest ever or the worst. I know that is anathema to our social media culture. I thought it was fun. I thought it wasn't as good as Rihanna for me, or Beyonce for that matter. It was better than some of the other ones we've seen lately. It was maybe on the Usher level. I thought it was pretty good. Serena, doing the Crip walk, I really liked. Drake getting owned, I really enjoyed.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to sell Black One.
There are other things that I like. Some of the throwback to the original record. It was pretty good for me. That is not an allowed opinion on the MAGA right. Here we go. Some of the worst hits from the folks that want you to know they don't like seeing so many black people on their TV. Here's Clay Travis, the aforementioned Clay Travis. This is the worst Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. Okay. Nike, which has supported men pretending to be women, says women can't win because of sexism. I guess this is complaining about a commercial. Then he attacks the Nike stock price. He attacks another commercial. This person can't just enjoy the football game, I guess. So anyway, worst performance of all time by Clay Travis. Eric Doherty, who has kind of been gaining steam on the right. He's a Florida MAGA influencer. Raise your hand if you survived the Black Nationalist Super Bowl halftime show. Not exactly subtle. We had Jack Posobiec, Pizzagate Jack. He called it a DEI halftime show. This is like really one of those cases where DEI is just a stand-in for the N-word, I think, or for black, because you say what you want about the halftime show. Like, Kendrick is not a DEI, appointee. I mean, he is the most acclaimed rapper in the world, and has sold millions of albums, and is widely praised by people across, music and demographic and ideological perspectives. So I don't know what the DEI of this would be. It would feel like it'd be DEI if you put in the group that Jack wanted instead, AC/DC. That would be, I guess, Australian DEI, because they haven't put out a good song in like 30 years. But anyway, that was Pizzagate Jack. Ben Shapiro attacked it. He said he couldn't understand a word he was saying. Ben Shapiro has a long history of saying hip hop isn't music. My buddy Matt Gaetz, the good friend of the show, Matt Gaetz. Here he goes. The halftime show you just watched is clearly the regime's response to Trump's historic gains with black men. The Community Note points out that the election hadn't happened when Kendrick was announced. So another massive stretch. Lauren Boebert attacked it. Benny Johnson said, let's see, the halftime show should have been the Village People with President Trump doing the Trump dance. Read the room, NFL. He said we should no longer let talentless, mumbling, pagan, satanic cultists do halftime shows and pretend people like it. my podcast guest, Ben Stiller, my buddy Ben Stiller, my new friend, he thought it was the best halftime show. So I guess some people like it. Some people with actual artistic skills, unlike Benny Johnson, did enjoy it. So we got Bill Mitchell. You might remember Bill Mitchell from the first Trump term. He was a very prominent Trump advocate on social media. That was awful in every possible way. Zero diversity. See, I love how they play this game. Like, now we need diversity. Now we're for DEI when white people aren't involved. Zero diversity, ugly costumes, profane lyrics, songs 99% of people never heard. Sorry, Bill, it's just you that haven't heard them. Many people have heard Kendrick Lamar songs, just hasn't managed to pierce your bubble.
Be humble. Sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
I guess, this was all extremely predictable. That in a black city like New Orleans, they would have a halftime show that honors black culture, that has the black hip hop artist that is at the top of his game. Like, a black male artist is the number one, most acclaimed in the world right now. That would rub the MAGA world the wrong way. But it's interesting, the creative way. It's worth looking at because it's interesting to see all the creative ways that they talk about how they don't like black culture, with in most cases trying to dance around being overtly racist, but in some cases, like Jack Posobiec, just like going right through it. So we will, continue to monitor what these assholes are saying. So, I do think that their attempt to wrest cultural power, I talked about this with Ezra last weekend, is important. Shouldn't be ignored. Should be pushed back on. These people are dorks. And during the 2024 campaign, the Democrats kind of allowed themselves to be positioned as the dorks, and it's time to reframe it. All right, it is time to remind Americans who the biggest nerds are, and it's the people that have to clutch their pearls over the Kendrick Lamar halftime show because there aren't enough whites there. And so I think that is an important cultural ground for Democrats to fight on. So we will continue to monitor the MAGA dork beat so you don't have to. We'll see y'all soon.